So a little bit about my story is I used to be super depressed in high school. I know that so many of us, obviously, with COVID and life and everything that's happened, we all seem to drop into this depressed, like very, sad state. And what's interesting is I learned years ago that when I was holding a knife in my hand and thinking about taking my own life back in high school, and this is over 10 years ago, actually like 15 years ago at this point, I realized that it just wasn't worth it. And I learned over the years that I actually get so much of my value and happiness from just being a good person. So for anybody that is in my group, it's called Travel Secrets VIPs. I go by this moniker of Positive Corey, but one of the things really is just understanding your story. And that's the reason why I want to say that off the bat. John talked about going live. And this is a part of my story that I really haven't been sharing very much in my group up until just a couple of months ago when I realized that it's me. So that's something to really think about of what is your story? And it doesn't have to be something that involves suicide or depression or what Amy shared before, right? Of going into a coma. Obviously, those health stories where we have those scares with death. Obviously, those are so much more powerful, but that would be number one, just to think about what is your story and what can you share with your audience that will resonate with them, and then figuring out how to spin that into the value that you offer to your group. So I was a corporate slave. I worked in corporate America in the Boston area, not even for very long, just for a little over 4 years, but I realized that's not what I wanted. I hated it. As Gary Vaynerchuk likes to say, like he couldn't breathe when he was in school. And I felt the exact same way when I was going into corporate America every day. And I ended up leaving my group in July of 2019. So pre-COVID, everybody, pre-COVID, I left because this group of mine just grew extremely fast, specifically by leveraging Marketing Boost. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit here. So let's see if I can get this navigator out here. So today, real quick, I know that we're short on time. I'm just going to quickly go over.
We're not going nowhere. So take your time with it. Go.
Okay. Definitely want to be respectful. So today I'm just going to quickly go over 3 powerful strategies that I use with Marketing Boost in my Facebook group and how you can model this. I don't say copy. There's a very, very fine distinction between the two. Copying, I work in travel, right? Not everybody on here works in travel. We have insurance, we have real estate, we have so many other things on here, right? But you can model what we're about to cover together in your own Facebook group and give you some food for thought for all the newbies also of not having a group yet on how to start building that fast, right? So these are actually a couple of posts that I made in Marketing Boost. And you can see in 2019. So I also have been a part of Marketing Boost. It used to be called Ad Boost. I wasn't part of 2 name changes, Curry. I was just part of 1. So you definitely beat me there. But you can see here that evidence, right? Anything related, and I'm sure Alex does this as well when it comes to tips that he shares in his community, like showing actual evidence of you serving somebody or maybe you getting the results yourself, right? And that's what I decided to do here, really just drinking my own Kool-Aid, so to speak, right? But how did I do this? So I leverage what John referred to as an invite contest. So what is that? Again, this is perfect for travel, but this is something you can model in your own group, regardless of whatever niche that you're in. And what I did was I said, hey, whoever invites the most wins this trip. Super high value, like John Rankin said earlier, something that's super high value. You have to put in some effort to get access to this. And then that's what really exploded my group, right? But again, this is travel. So a travel incentive in a travel group works really, really well. Okay, Corey, how do I use this if I'm also, let's say, in the insurance industry? How would I do this? Well, what you can do is you can leverage the membership questions in the group. You can ask questions so that you can actually only accept people into the group that are actually in the target market that so many of the awesome panelists have also talked about today, knowing your target market and who you want. Because when you're just inviting a ton of people, obviously not everybody is going to be into the topic that you're into. So by adding membership questions into it, you're actually segmenting and you're qualifying the people that are coming into your group. So that's something that everybody can do. This is not something that you want to do all the time. And again, this growth curve worked really well in travel because of the combination with the folks that are in it, passionate about travel, with the travel incentive. Okay. So something that you can model and try and figure out new ways of doing it yourself. But qualification is extremely important, regardless of whatever niche that you're going into. The second image that you see here in regards to growth is I leverage a tool. I'm not using it right now, but I'm thinking about going back to it soon. And I actually answered one of the Q&As about this. I use a tool called UpViral, which some of the folks on here might be familiar with. UpViral is a point system. So you give an email, you get points, right? If you share it, you get points. So many of us are familiar with something like this, I'm sure. And that's what I leveraged here. I did a Hawaii giveaway. I did a Las Vegas giveaway. Share based on how many points you get. You could do it based on just random selection, which I actually recommend, but try out anything. So UpViral is another tool that I highly recommend. And that's what I leveraged here to get some more organic viral sharing going on. But again, going back to segmenting, qualifying, and making sure that the folks that are coming into your world are not just, wandering generalities, so to speak, that don't really care about what it is that you have to offer. You want to be always thinking about, and Keith just mentioned this a second ago, understanding who are you talking to, what are the pains, and how can I actually solve those pains and problems for them and help them by providing a solution. So now I'm going through this pretty fast, but that's group growth. A couple of different tips there. Let's go into strategy 2, which is all about engagement. So these are 2 recent posts that I did in my Facebook group. Again, keep in mind, this is a travel group, okay? So I ran a giveaway literally yesterday for a Las Vegas vacation, right? I went live about it. I chose a winner by using a free tool that I liked that's called the Wheel of Names. So that's one thing that you can use to pick a random winner. The Wheel of Names, it's completely free. It's like a, what is that called? Like a Wheel of Fortune type thing, and all the names are on it and you select one. It's really easy. But why else is this slide important? This slide's important because this is not just about giveaways and vacations. Those are great to boost engagement and to drive engagement. But just going back again to what Keith said right before me, it's understanding the questions that you want to ask your audience, right? Like, hey, like, what's your number one problem related to buying insurance? Like, what's the biggest roadblock that you're bumping into in your network marketing business, right? What are the questions that you can ask to start siphoning out the pains, because you don't even need a product yet. All the newbies out there, you don't need anything. You just need to understand what is it that you're passionate about, like Amy said, and then understanding the questions, open-ended questions that people give you answers to, and then you can create a product out of that if you want to, or you can go use an affiliate's product based on the problems, pains, roadblocks that your audience is bumping into in the category that you are passionate about. Because I 110% agree with Amy that you need to be working in something that you love, because otherwise you're going to burn out, like all the successful people that we've heard say a million times. It's absolutely true. But that's where this becomes super incredibly valuable, because when you understand what your audience, the emotional triggers, so to speak, that is going through the minds of your audience, and you say, oh, you have this problem. Okay, John, like, here's the solution. What does that do? That creates so much know, like, and trust. And that's actually something that I learned from Caleb O'Dowd, who I highly recommend, is one of the number one experts in the world on Facebook groups that I learned from. And that's the number one thing that he really like hones in on. It's all about know, like, and trust. And that's why John mentioned Facebook Lives as well before, because that's what Facebook Lives allow you to do. So with these types of questions in Facebook groups, ask open-ended questions on pains, problems, solutions, to get inside of the minds of your audience, to be able to provide a solution that matches with your audience. But leverage Marketing Boost as well to accelerate the engagement, because I don't even know what the percentage is, but like, especially with COVID now, like I would say 99% of us want to travel, right? And if you fall into that 1%, then you probably, I don't know about those people, but they wouldn't be great for my Facebook group. But asking those questions and then layering in Marketing Boost to open things up and get people excited, but always thinking about that segmentation. And then number three strategy is convert, right? So we talked about growth, we talked about engagement, about how you can leverage Marketing Boost in those areas. And now let's talk about converting and money, right? So this is last year, right before COVID, I started running group trips. So for those that might not have read my bio, recently launched a brand new service, and it's all around these high-end vacations that I operate. So not a travel agency, nothing like that, but I create my own group trips with folks inside of my travel family community, as I like to call it. But this is the first group trip that we ran, and we were at the top of the Sears Tower, believe it or not, in this picture. And we were there in January, which makes no sense. But what's great about Facebook group is that you know where the majority of your audience is. So I knew that the majority of my audience live in the United States, and they happen to live in Chicago. So what am I going to do? I'm going to create my first group trip, and I don't care if it's January or I'm going to Chicago, because I'm going to get people together and we're going to create this trip and make it happen and create that result. So that's all of us at the top of the Sears Tower, all wearing a shirt that I put together and also like sold inside of my group. So e-commerce is also a part of my business. But the way that I sold my first couple of spots and had gotten my first clients was by offering an incentive. Hey, coming on this trip with us, why don't I give you this extra trip to get you to come, because I need that result. So that's something that I would highly think about. And going back to what John said before, not selling something that costs $17 in exchange for a trip, because that makes no sense. And it makes us not, like, distrust the trips, which we all know are legit and highly valuable. And instead, if you do have a high ticket product, and it could just be a couple $100, this trip I think was $500, layering in an extra trip makes it seem like it's more believable. And I was able to get the result in my business that I needed. So whether it's a business that's been running for a long time and you're figuring out, how do I add this in? Think about what is the most amount of value that you could give to somebody, and stack it, and then throw in one of these vacations so that the value equates to the value of the trip. And that's what makes things way more believable for all of us. And if it's your first product or you're just starting your own business, you can get your first sales to get your first result, but make sure that you're capturing those testimonials as well, like we did here. And oh, by the way, that's John Rankin inside of this photo here that was on as a panelist. So that's what I got for everybody today. I hope that was super valuable. My Facebook group community, as you can see here, it's called Travel Secrets VIPs. Whether you're in travel, not in travel, like, I highly recommend, and I started off this presentation the same way. Don't copy. Don't be a copycat. Model. I think it was Brian Tracy, who I've been following for years now, who said, take 80%, but then throw on your 20% so that it's unique to who you are. So I highly recommend joining my group, joining everybody's group on here, all the panelists group, checking out what we're doing, and then taking concepts and then reapplying it. Because I forget who said this before. I think it was Alex or Keith. I forget, honestly. But the idea of just not coming up with everything yourself. Just copy what works and then remodel it in your own way.